Larissa's back. Let's get a divorce. I handed Jeff West the divorce papers I had already signed, my face calm and unreadable. For a second, his expression froze, but he quickly recovered. He then signed his name on the papers with practiced ease. It was the first time I had offered him the papers, instead of the other way around. Still, just like the last 6 times, he said casually, "Once she leaves in a month, I'll remarry you." In the past, that line would never have been enough to curb my insecurity. I would make him swear an oath or sign a contract, anything to feel safe. This time, I felt nothing. I had no desire to respond at all. "Helen, are you even listening to me?" Jeff frowned, clearly annoyed by my silence. I just nodded.
Yeah.
But my hands kept moving, folding clothes and packing them neatly into boxes. When Jeff said he would remarry me, he always meant it. Everyone in the business knew him as a man who kept his word. We didn't seem like a real couple anyway. We were like 2 business partners with a contract that needed renewal, signing 2 papers every once in a while, one for marriage and the other for divorce. By now, I had signed 13 papers. I remembered him saying at our wedding that he would never betray me during our marriage, and he hadn't. After the divorce, he was free to be with anyone he wanted. The only cost was that I became the kind of person everyone in the social circle knew could be summoned or dismissed at his whim. But today, my calmness seemed to throw him off. He could vividly remember how I had behaved during our divorce in the past. I had been hysterical, even self-destructive. Now he watched me pack efficiently, faster than ever, and he looked a little unsettled. Maybe this time, I should move out instead. I slammed the large suitcase shut with a thunk, cutting him off. I already told my friend I'd stay at her place for a few days. Jeff seemed to have thought of something, and his face darkened even further. "You're not planning to sneak into my office again, are you? Pretending to be an assistant just to spy on me? Can't you do anything for yourself?
Are you so lost?"
Without a man? I understood what he was doing immediately. He just didn't want me showing up at his office, disturbing him and Larissa Osborne. After all, she was only back for a short visit. Jeff would always hire her to be his chief assistant, staying close to him at all times. After our second divorce, I had applied and got hired as Jeff's assistant. I carried his favorite caramel latte, heart racing with hope as I pushed open the door to his office. Instead, I found him leaning back in his chair while kissing Larissa, who was sitting on his lap. I lost it. I lunged at Larissa, fists swinging, and Jeff slapped me to the floor. People had gathered outside the office, peeking in. Everyone assumed I was still the CEO's wife, so their eyes were full of judgment as they looked at Larissa. To spare her from gossip, Jeff ignored my tears, snatched my bag, and dumped everything on the floor. The divorce papers lay there like a warning sign, announcing to the world exactly what our relationship was. From then on, every time Jeff and I divorced, he made it public on social media. Everyone knew Jeff loved Larissa. I was just a shameless woman who refused to leave his side. But this time, Jeff's worry was unnecessary. I grabbed my suitcase without hesitation. "Don't worry, I won't bother you two again." Jeff looked at me suspiciously for a moment until I pulled the suitcase handle and stepped toward the door. Then he reminded me a little anxiously, "We'll get remarried on the 13th next month. Don't forget." I paused for a second. What a coincidence. My flight out of the country was booked for the 13th. After Larissa returned, Jeff didn't think about me once. This time, I stopped obsessively tracking his every move, which I do after every one of our divorces, waiting at every place he might appear. Instead, I spent my days enjoying myself with my best friend, Scarlett Hargraves. We were living our best life. Before I knew it, only 20 days were left until I'd leave the country. One evening, Scarlett and I were waiting for our food at a restaurant when we ran into Jeff and Larissa. Jeff had his arm around Larissa's waist. They laughed and talked as they walked in together, looking like the perfect match. "Helen." Jeff's eyes immediately locked on me. Larissa leaned close to him, draping an arm around his shoulders while smiling sweetly.
Helen, what a...
Surprise. Seeing my gaze linger on Larissa, Jeff instinctively stepped forward, putting her slightly behind him. I knew he feared I might act like I used to and lunge at Larissa without a second thought. But I didn't. I even held back Scarlett, who was itching to defend me. I smiled casually. Yeah, what a surprise. Sensing my restraint, Larissa smiled even more.
Confidently.
Sorry, Helen, she said, swinging Jeff's arm and pouting. Jeff promised to reserve this place just for
Me.
Looks like you'll have to eat somewhere else, right, Jeff? Say something, or Helen will think I'm picking on her. Jeff's eyes flickered toward me for a second, a mix of hesitation and calculation. Finally, he just nodded. He didn't say a word, but the message was clear, louder than any speech. Scarlett rolled up her sleeves, ready to confront them, but I gently pressed her arm down. It's okay. We can go somewhere else. Yeah, we'd go somewhere else anywhere without
Jeff.
With my departure abroad looming, I wasn't going to waste time on pointless arguments with my ex. After all, as a competent ex, I was supposed to treat Jeff as if he didn't exist. The restaurant manager, sensing the tension, stepped in with a smile. You two look so happy together. What a beautiful couple. Jeff's eyes flicked to me with a mix of caution and curiosity, as if wondering what I might say or do. But I ignored it completely, took Scarlett's hand, and walked away. Jeff stared after us, stunned that I hadn't reacted at all. Larissa called Jeff's name several times. By the end, her voice was tinged with impatience before he finally dragged his gaze back to her. I had thought our restaurant encounter would be the last time I'd see Jeff before leaving the country. But on the very night I officially quit as his assistant, I got a video call from him. It was such a rare surprise that I had to fight the urge to hang up immediately. Instead, I switched to a voice call. Jeff's voice carried a hint of annoyance. Why switch to voice? I shrugged it off casually. I don't have makeup on. I'm not ready for video. I immediately regretted saying it sounded as if I wanted to impress him. As expected, Jeff laughed, suddenly in a better mood. We've been together forever. I've seen you without makeup plenty of times. His flirty tone made me uncomfortable. I kept my voice cool. Do you need something? He noticed the distance in my tone and sat up, straighter, leaving behind his usual lazy posture. I heard you quit from HR. I gave a short, yeah, and didn't explain. Neither of us spoke for a while. Jeff tried to fill the silence, but it felt like small talk, without real meaning. I'm glad you quit. I never understood why you chose to be an assistant when you're already the CEO's wife. That's kind of lowering your status. He continued, and honestly, your schedule was all over the place. I barely saw you at the office, but I still had to send your paycheck every month. Everyone knew you were my +1, saying I'm playing favorites. Annoyed, I cut him off before he could say more. Don't you have to go see Larissa? Jeff muttered under his breath. We're not together. Why would I? Then he went quiet, remembering I was just his ex. A flicker of guilt crossed his face. I'm sorry about the divorce. I owe you for that. I was just worried people would gossip about Larissa if we were still married. I nodded to myself. Sure, Larissa didn't deserve the whispers and judgment, so I got to be the joke, the topic of conversation for everyone else. My voice grew colder. If there's nothing else, I'm hanging up. Wait. Jeff's voice turned urgent. December 12th is our anniversary. Your favorite singer's concert is that night. I know you've always wanted to go. I'll buy the tickets and we'll go together, okay? For a brief second, I almost thought about telling him the truth. But before I could speak, Larissa's voice rang from the other side of the call. Jeff, I forgot my towel. Can you grab it for me? Jeff froze and stared at my name on the screen, clearly caught between choices. I kept my expression neutral. Go ahead. Finally, he slowly got up, phone still in hand. Don't hang up yet. I'll be right back. Then he walked toward the bathroom. As expected, I heard the unmistakable sounds of Jeff kissing Larissa, a muffled moan from him, and then the bathroom door slammed. I hung up, smirking. Right at that moment, Scarlett came over. all excited as she invited me to a club. I didn't hesitate. I set my phone down and linked arms with her. There were still so many things in the world that could make me happy. I used to be a lovesick fool, but now, why should I waste energy on a man who was completely in the past? Days without Jeff flew by. Before I realized it, my departure was only a few days away. Even though I had no contact, I still heard about him and Larissa from Scarlett. Apparently, he had a huge argument with Larissa and, ignoring her embarrassment, stormed out of a dinner
Party.
Rumor had it that Jeff and Larissa's fight was about
Me.
I just smiled, indifferent. I wasn't that hopeless romantic anymore, the one who used to refresh social media dozens of times a day stalking them and everyone who knew them, hoping to catch the tiniest crack in their relationship. If I succeeded, I would then rush to Jeff the second I thought he might need me, ready to remind him that I was the one who truly loved him. Couples who are really in love argue in bed and make up before breakfast.
So, what if the fight was about me?
I had always just been another player in their little game anyway. Still, after that, Jeff started calling me more and more. But I either hung up immediately or found some excuse not to see him. Then, the day before I was leaving the country, he asked me to go to the concert with him. I already got the tickets. I'll see you tonight. It's our anniversary today. You're not going to stand me up, are you? He had never sounded so pleading before. Before, he would casually bring up something or take one step toward me, and I would run toward him the rest of the way, trying to please him. But in the end, I realized he had even stopped getting close, all because of Larissa. I didn't even know what to say, because today wasn't really our anniversary. It was the day of our fourth remarriage. After so many cycles of breaking up and getting back together, only I would be stupid enough to keep track of every single detail about him. Still, I said yes. I really did want to see the concert. That night, I waited at the venue, but Jeff never showed up. I opened the voice message he had just sent me. His apologetic voice was layered over the noise of the concert, faintly mixed with Larissa's light laughter.
Sorry.
Larissa suddenly felt a little sick. I had to take her to the hospital. We'll have plenty of anniversaries in the future anyway. After Larissa leaves tomorrow, I'll do anything you want, okay? The concert finally started. The music drifted through. The stadium, soft and melodic. I closed the messaging app and, for the first time in a month, opened social media. A photo Larissa had just posted popped right up it. Was her selfie with Jeff at the concert. The music continued, as if mocking me for still holding out hope for him when I agreed to the concert and during the journey here. And now, that tiny hope was completely gone. After divorcing him 7 times, I should have known.
By now.
At least this time, it was the last. With nothing left holding me back, I went to the airport and sat there all night. By 7 a.m., I had checked in. Jeff messaged me, asking when we'd remarry. I didn't reply and deleted him from my contacts. By 8 a.m., I was in line for boarding. He called, but I didn't answer. I blocked his number. By 9 a.m., I was on the plane. The flight attendant instructed everyone to switch to airplane mode. Right then, Scarlett called. Jeff's anxious voice came through the phone. Helen, where are you? Goodbye, ex-husband. I hung up sharply and turned off my phone, listening to the roar of the airplane engines. A sense of finality washed over me. I was finally free. Jeff stood at Scarlett's apartment, gripping the phone I'd just hung up on, staring blankly. His voice was low and hoarse, as if he were holding back something. Where did she go? Scarlett crossed her arms and smirked. Now you want to know? Anyway, she's gone.
Gone?
What do you mean? Where the hell is she? Scarlett shrugged and gave a sly, teasing smile. You really think I'm going to tell you? Jeff's eyes immediately went cold. I don't have time to play games with you. Oh, getting a little impatient, are we? Scarlett rolled her eyes and headed to the door. She flung it open. Get out. You're not welcome here. Jeff stayed rooted to the spot, his face dark and stormy. We were supposed to remarry today. She can't just disappear like this. Remarry? Scarlett laughed, covering her mouth as if it were the funniest thing in the world. Do you think a marriage certificate is like a Starbucks rewards card? Collect points enough times, and what you get to redeem a prize. Jeff's pupils shrank suddenly, as if she'd struck a nerve he was trying to hide. He quickly composed himself and said coldly, You'd better tell me where she is. She even blocked your number. Can't you figure out what's going on? Scarlett lifted her chin mockingly. She's not coming back. Finally, Jeff lost his patience. He slammed his hand onto the arm of Scarlett's couch. She can't just disappear, and our relationship is none of your business. Oh, it's none of my business? Scarlett sneered, rifled through a drawer, and threw a stack of papers at him. Then take a look at this, see if you still have any right to control her life. Jeff bent over to take a closer look. His breath caught in his throat. There was my resignation letter, my closed bank, account records, and a one-way plane ticket with the destination deliberately obscured. Do you get it now? Scarlett's smile was merciless. She's completely done with you. Jeff's fingers clenched until they turned white. He ground out through his teeth. She can't leave. Well, you don't deserve to make her stay. Scarlett shoved him aside and pushed him straight out the door. Now, get out. At the airport, the plane had already taken off. Jeff's car roared through the streets like a madman, barreling into the terminal, only to be stopped by security. Sir, you can't go in. Jeff's face went pale. He whipped out a business card. I'm the CEO of West Corporation. Stop every flight immediately. The staff shook their heads. Sorry, sir. The flight has already departed. Any changes need to go through the airline. Jeff yanked his hand away and immediately called his assistant. Find out where Helen went.
Now.
On the other end, his assistant replied nervously, Ms. Garner bought a special ticket. We can't trace the destination. Jeff felt as if his blood had frozen. He couldn't believe I had done such a thing. He immediately contacted a private investigation firm. Find her, no matter what. Jeff's voice was hoarse, his eyes bloodshot. He seemed to have finally realized that Helen had left him for good this time. Jeff stumbled back into his apartment, and the moment he opened the door, he caught a familiar scent. The sweet aroma of beef stew hit him like a lightning bolt. It was Helen's signature dish. His heart jumped, a flash of joy lighting up his eyes. Helen, you're home. He practically ran into the kitchen, hope and excitement written all over his face. But the moment he saw who was actually there, he froze as the smile drained from his face. It wasn't her. Larissa, in a silky white nightgown, was calmly stirring a pot on the stove. She turned to him with a sweet smile the second she noticed him. Hey, you're back. All of Jeff's hope evaporated in an instant. His face went cold. I thought you left. He clearly remembered personally seeing Larissa on her flight. I'm back again, she said while stepping closer, her delicate fingers brushing his chest. I hated being away from you. I want to be with you. This time, I'm staying for good. She lifted her chin, her eyes gleaming with determination. Let's get married. Jeff looked at her as if she'd just told a bad joke and shoved her away. Get married? Who the hell do you think you are? Her expression fell. What do you mean? Jeff's voice was icy. Listen closely. I'm remarrying. Helen. I'll never marry you. No, that's impossible. Larissa screamed. You dumped her so many times for me, and now you act like you care? A flicker of discomfort passed over his face before, hardening into a sharper, colder expression. I only divorced Helen to protect your reputation, not because I loved you. If you hadn't kept latching onto me, Helen wouldn't have left. Larissa's face went pale, then flushed bright red. You're lying. If that's true, why did you keep divorcing and remarrying her? Because Jeff paused, his eyes momentarily distant. Because I promised her right then. He realized that the only person he really cared about was Helen, the one who always waited for him to come home. Larissa laughed suddenly, sharp and grating. How long are you going to keep pretending? She stepped closer. Who's the one holding me in the office, kissing me? Who's the one rushing back every time you get divorced? Stop lying to yourself. You've always loved me. Jeff grabbed her wrist with a force that could have crushed bone. Shut up. Hit a nerve, huh? Feeling guilty? Larissa tried to hide her pain, venom in her eyes. Now that Helen couldn't stand your hypocrisy and left, you suddenly pretend to be a devoted husband? I'm glad she left. You deserve it. She yelled hysterically. I hope you never find her again. Jeff's eyes were red, and he raised his hand, slapping her hard. The sharp smack echoed through the empty villa. Larissa staggered back, hands over her face in disbelief. "Did you just hit me?" "I warned you," Jeff hissed, his voice cold and
Terrifying.
"If you hadn't pushed Helen over and over, she wouldn't have left. Get out of the country now." Jeff spat at Larissa. He then pulled out his phone and dialed his bodyguards. "Get here immediately. Escort Ms. Osborne back, where she belongs." Larissa completely panicked. "You can't do this to me. I love you so much." But the only answer she got was the cold click of the front door opening. Two men in black grabbed her and dragged her out. Her screams faded into the night. Jeff stood frozen, staring at the bowl knocked over on the floor before slowly crouching down. The scent of the stew hung in the air, yet he couldn't reach for it, just as he could no longer reach the one who would never return. When the plane finally touched down on a foreign runway, I stared out the window at the unfamiliar landscape, feeling as if I had stepped into another world. As soon as I walked down the jetway, I saw my father's slightly stooped figure. The once powerful business titan was no longer young. The moment he saw me, his eyes welled with tears. Years ago, when Garner Group expanded overseas, I had insisted on staying behind to marry Jeff. I had defied my father and even cut ties with him. It had been 6 years since I last saw my family. "Dad," I choked back tears and threw myself into his arms. "I'm sorry, I was stupid. I left the family for Jeff, that jerk." He hugged me tightly. There was no anger at my past stubbornness. He simply said, "You're home now, and that's what matters." Tears blurred my vision as I finally understood.
Home isn't about a man.
It's where your family is. I had once been so blind, thinking Jeff, the man who divorced me 7 times for another woman, was my home. In the car, my father told me, "I've acquired 17% of West Corporation shares." I shook my head. "You don't need to do this. I'll get my own revenge." "It's not revenge," he said, looking at me seriously. "It's a welcome gift for you, for taking back the family business." 3 years later, "Ms. Garner, here's the Q3 report. Our net profit has increased by 65% year over year." The secretary handed me the files with respect. I was standing in a custom-tailored suit looking out over the financial district from floor to ceiling windows. In 3 years, I had worked my way up from the ground floor to the helm of Garner Group. The company's value had tripled, and even the Financial Times called me the finance wizard. Meanwhile, West Corporation was declining fast. Jeff was panicking over plummeting stock prices. He had never stopped searching for me over the years. Until today, Jeff saw me on his massive screen, representing my father and the company at the Garner Group annual conference. 3 years had passed, and there I was on the screen wearing a custom suit and the latest high heels. When the camera zoomed in on me signing the documents, the custom wedding ring he had given me was nowhere to be seen. "Book the next flight to Ashbourne immediately." He grabbed his jacket, knocking over a coffee cup. Dark liquid spread across the Q3 loss report, leaving a glaring stain. "No, schedule a flight. I'm going on my private jet." His assistant tried to intervene, "But sir, you have a bank meeting in 30 minutes. "Shut up." Jeff's roar silenced the entire office. Jeff stared at the screen, watching me shake hands with officials from another country's commerce department. His Adam's apple bobbed violently. "Tell the finance department to raise the interest rate on the shares pledged to the bank by 2 points," he muttered. Meanwhile, as the plane pierced through the stratosphere, I was at the executive lounge of a hotel signing for a special delivery. I peeled back the protective foam to reveal all our marriage and divorce papers. A sticky note from Scarlett, sent from back home, was tucked between them. "He says collecting all of these will make you change your mind." I pressed the call button and smiled at the concierge who arrived. "Please shred these for me," I said lightly. By the time Jeff finally tracked me down, I was sitting in a cafe with Albert Foster from Foster Enterprise, the man I was supposed to be forming a marriage alliance with. In a glass conservatory on Everton Avenue, Albert's fingers traced the rim of his coffee cup slowly. For 3 years, this Monarch Street acquisition powerhouse, known as the Mad Wolf, had only ever shown this kind of patience with me. It's been 3 years and 4 months since we met, he said, reaching into his suit pocket and pulling out a small blue velvet box. I've decided to stop counting the days. The moment he opened the box, the sunlight, streaming through the glass, seemed to converge on the center stone. It was a 12-carat rare, pink diamond surrounded by more than 20 top-quality, white diamonds. It looked like a miniature galaxy. I had it taken out from a Montreux bank last month, he said, lifting my wrist adorned with a thin business watch. It suits you even better than I imagined. The right hand of the man who had signed countless merger deals trembled slightly from nervousness. If you don't want to wear it on your ring finger, you can wear it on a necklace first, Albert added. Cautiously, I shook my head with a smile, about to let him slide the ring onto my finger, when a deafening crack of breaking tempered glass cut me off. Shards sparkled through the air as Jeff burst in like an untamed beast. His leather shoes crunched over broken glass, the sound grating. Helen, his bloodshot eyes locked on Albert, and mine twined. Hands. You are my wife. What are you doing? This is bigamy. It's illegal. Albert, fully aware of everything between Jeff and me, recognized him immediately and stepped forward to shield me. You and Helen are already divorced. She can marry whoever she wants. Shut up. Jeff slammed his palm onto the round table. Coffee spilled over the edge, staining his suit pants. She's my wife, he ground out through clenched teeth while glaring at Albert. Who the hell are you? Who said you could touch her? So what, we're divorced? Helen agreed to remarry me. I'm here to bring her home. Albert tried to argue further, but I gently tugged at his sleeve, shaking my head. I looked at Jeff, as though I were staring at a stranger. I said calmly, our 7th divorce was 3 years ago. His body shook violently as he processed this. You're saying that just to get back at me, right? You promised to remarry me. I know you still love me. It's all Larissa's fault. She seduced me, so I divorced you again and again, hurting you every time. I've punished her for it. Jeff pulled his phone out of his bag and played a video. On the screen, Larissa stood by a window in a psychiatric hospital, her face swollen and distorted. From long-term medication, she stared blankly outside, completely lost in her own world. I forced her to work as an escort, and then I put her in a mental hospital, Jeff said urgently. You hate her, so I made her pay the price. You think I left you because of Larissa? I laughed suddenly. Listen carefully. I don't care about her. Just like I haven't cared about you for a long time. Albert took my hand at the right moment, our fingers interlacing. I saw Jeff's gaze lock onto our joined hands. His whole body twitched, as if he'd been burned. We're getting married next month, I said calmly. I hope you can give us your blessing. Albert, usually composed, lit up instantly, grinning like a kid. Jeff's lips began to tremble. Suddenly, he lunged at me like a drowning man, grabbing my arm. No, you can't do this. You can't marry him. You promised me you'd love me forever. Please don't leave me. Don't marry someone else. I looked down at him, my voice gentle but firm. 7 years ago, when you first divorced me for Larissa, I begged you like this too. I even slashed my wrists to keep you. My blood got all over the floor, but you still left without a glance, running to Larissa. The butler had to call the ambulance for me. I stayed in the hospital for a month, and you didn't even come to see me once. Albert wrapped his arm around my shoulders, and only then did I realize my body was still trembling. It's okay, Helen. It's all in the past. I'm here now, Albert said softly. Jeff suddenly collapsed to his knees, ignoring everyone around him and clutching my legs tightly. You can't leave. I can't live without you. I haven't stopped looking for you for 3 years. I searched the whole world. I looked down at his messy hair. That face that used to mesmerize me was now twisted in tears and desperation. Strangely, my heart was completely calm, still as a stagnant pond. Mr. West, Albert said calmly, touch my fiancé again, and tomorrow's headlines will be about the last 7% of West Corporation's shares being shorted. Jeff ignored him. He tilted his face up, revealing a scar that ran from his forehead to his brow. Remember the scar? You got it the 3rd time we divorced. You smashed a vase, but I never blamed you. That's because you deserved it, I finally said. That day, I opened the door and saw Larissa wearing my wedding dress in our bedroom. I broke free from his grasp and, before leaving, glanced back at him one last time. Love isn't an apology after you hurt someone. I'm Not a toy you use and put away. You never understood what love is. Experiencing real love has shown me that what we had wasn't it. I took Albert's hand and left the cafe without looking back. As Albert opened the car door for me, Jeff's wails still echoed inside. I leaned gently on Albert's shoulder, watching his figure shrink in the rearview mirror. Sunlight streamed through the car window, glinting off my wedding ring and casting a rainbow of colors. This was what true love looked like. My wedding was held in a chapel on the pink sand beaches of Coral Bay. Wearing the custom-made wedding gown, I stared into the mirror at myself. I looked calm, poised, and more grounded than I had been 3 years ago. Miss Garner, the stylist, whispered, "There's a gentleman outside dash." Scarlett cut her off. "Tell him the bride isn't seeing anyone." My fingers froze on the veil. "Jeff's still out there?" "He's been kneeling at the beach entrance since last night," Scarlett said, rolling her eyes. "Said he won't get up until he sees you. Security tried to move him 3 times, but he wouldn't budge." Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, I saw him in the storm, drenched, his expensive suit pants torn and streaked with blood at the knees. He pushed away the black umbrella the bodyguards held over him, as if trying to wash something away with the rain. Albert suddenly pushed the door open, holding a tablet. On the screen were real-time stock prices. Just half an hour ago, Foster Enterprise completed the purchase of the last 7% of West Corporation's shares. Want him to see the wedding live? Albert rested his chin on my shoulder as the screen switched to a 4K view of the church interior. His tone was calm and gentle, as if he was talking about the weather. "I picked the same church you two first got married in." I laughed and brushed his hand away. "You're so childish." "Helen," a voice ripped through the storm, "come out and see me." Jeff had somehow broken through the first line of security. In the pouring rain, he held a soaked velvet box. Inside was a crystal ring, one of the cheap couple rings he bought at a street stall when we first married. "I found out I have late-stage stomach cancer. The doctor said I have 3 months at most." His voice cracked. "Just come out and see me one last time." "Okay." Albert's hand tightened around mine. Even this powerful business magnate's eyes were red and trembling. I knew he feared I might still feel sorry for Jeff. But how could I? I squeezed Albert's hand and shook my head at the butler. Time for the ceremony. As the organ played, a dull crash echoed from the sand. Through the stained glass window, I saw Jeff collapse into the surf like a fallen tree. The velvet box with the ring floated away into the deep blue. Jeff was taken to the hospital and died alone in the VIP ward 3 weeks later. He had signed an organ donation agreement before passing. A month later, Scarlett sent me a voice message. The psychiatric hospital called. Larissa hanged herself this morning. The 2nd year of my marriage, I gave birth to a beautiful, healthy daughter with Albert. Evening fell, and the city lights began to glow. Albert cradled our daughter in one arm while lacing his fingers with mine. I gazed down at my wedding ring, catching the golden glow of the sunset. Those who once hurt us were now little more than faded ink on the pages of a distant fairy tale. The real story was now unfolding warmly and vividly in the palms of our hands.